Hey guys! Thanks for checking out our Roots online service. Today we're finishing up our 3-week series called In My Opinion. We'll be talking about finding more about others before we form our opinion about them. Before we start, I want to encourage you to fill out a Connect card or a prayer request on the links above. You can even ask your host to pray for you right now with the live prayer link. Hope you guys enjoy the service, and I'll see you all after the message. Roots online service starts right now. Cue transition.
Waking up knowing there's a reason. All my dreams come alive. Life is for living. With you, I made my decision. You lift me up, fill my eyes with wonder. Forever young in your love, this freedom's untainted. With you, no moment is wasted. See the sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turns to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. This is living now. This is living now. Lead the way, God, you're right beside me. In your love, I'm complete. There's nothing like living with you. It's life you created. I choose. Hey, see the sun now bursting through the clouds, black and white, turns to color all around. All is new in the Savior I am found. This is living now. This is living now. You take me higher than I've been before. It's your perfect love that sees me soar. God, your freedom is an open door. You are everything I want and more. Maybe I really know what living is. Is it love? If I was, I'm living it. Do I live in it? So astounding. Love is an ocean, you could drown me. Sweet embrace, the lovely taste I taste and see I'm under grace, the place to be. It means that I'll never need an umbrella. I'm cool in the cold and the hot weather, whether I never ever understand. I'm a girl in the hands of great plans to stand with faith in a life I never known or touched. It's still time to clutch, but I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the die for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given to give. If I'ma live it, I'ma live to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the die for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given to give. If I'ma live it, I'ma live to death. Yeah. This is living now. Hey, you take me higher than I've been before. It's your perfect love that sees me soar. God, your freedom is an open door. You are everything I want and more. Open wide, blinded eyes, giants fall, dead men rise, sickness healed at the mention of you. Sinners' chains breaking free, miracles still happening, waters part, I see mountains move. No other name carries the power to save, crushes the power of the grave. But Jesus As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear, like the sun shaping the shadow. In my weakness, your glory appears. Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you
Hey guys, welcome back as we finish up our In My Opinion series. If you have been with us this whole time, you know that we have talked about gossip during week 1, and gossip is words that are rotten words that come out of our mouths. Last week, we talked about using kindness when we speak up into someone's life. And this week, we're going to be talking about judging others. So let me start by asking you a question. Does your school have cliques? You know, those groups of people who all seem to stick together. Those groups of people who bond together based on things that they have in common. And at my school, there was the band clique, the sports clique, the cheerleader clique, the smart kids clique. I wasn't part of that one. And even the church kids clique. And while you might get along great and have a ton in common with the people in your clique, you might have a lot of strong opinions about the people in the other cliques. And the ones who are different than you, who you really don't quite understand them as much. And I remember in 6th grade, I always had a really strong opinion of the 8th graders. It was the 8th grade clique. And they were like gods to me. They sat in the back of the bus and it was like their right because they were older and they were cool. And somehow I got to sit in the 3rd row from the back because they knew my older sister and who she was, and they thought she was really cool because she was a cheerleader at the high school. And to me, those kids were so cool, and I made it known to my 6th grade friends how cool those kids were. And here's the truth. We all have opinions about other people, whether they're negative or positive. And oftentimes it's easy for us to form opinions or assume that we know things to be true about people who are different than us. Sure, we don't know them all that well, but we definitely think that we do. And what we think to be true of them becomes our opinion of who they are. And I want you to check out this video of people making a snap judgment of someone from the very beginning. So check it out.
All right, what's your name, darling?
My name is Susan Boyle.
Okay, Susan, where are you from?
I am from Blackburn near Bathgate, West Lothian.
It's a big town.
It's a sort of collection of villages. I had to think there.
And how old are you, Susan?
I am 47. And that's just one side of me.
Okay, what's the dream?
I'm trying to be a professional singer.
And why hasn't it worked out so far, Susan?
I've never been given the chance before, but here's hoping it'll change.
Okay, and who would you like to be as successful as?
Elaine Page.
Elaine
somebody
Page.
like that.
What are you going to sing tonight?
I'm going to sing I Dreamed a Dream from Les Miserables.
Okay.
Big song.
Yeah? Yes.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by. When folks smiled, life was giving.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dreamed that love would never die. I dreamed that God would be forgiving. I was young and unafraid. When dreams are made and used and wasted, there was no ransom to be paid, no song unsung, no wine untasted. But the tigers come with their voices soft as thunder. As they tear your hopes apart, as they turn your dreams to shame. Still I dream you'd come to me.
All right. Thank you very much, Susan. Piers.
Without a doubt, that was the biggest surprise I have had in 3 years on this show. When you stood there with that cheeky grin and said, I want to be like Elaine Page, everyone was laughing at you. No one is laughing now. That was stunning, an incredible performance. Amazing. I'm reeling from shock about you two, but
I am
Can't
so
believe it.
thrilled because I know that everybody was against you. I honestly think that we were all being very cynical, and I think that's the biggest wake-up call ever. And I just want to say that it was a complete privilege listening to that. It was brilliant.
Susan, I knew the minute you walked out on that stage that we were going to hear something extraordinary, and I was right.
Not a lot of touch.
Susan, you are a little tiger, aren't you?
Oh, I don't know about that.
You
I don't know about
are.
that.
Okay, moment of truth. Piers, yes or no?
the biggest yes I have ever given anybody.
Amanda?
Yes, definitely. It's brilliant.
Susan Boyle, you can go back to the village with your head held high. It's 3 yeses.
I don't know about you, but I was shocked by this performance. I remember that clip hitting the news and completely going viral. And most of the judges and the people in the audience definitely formed opinions about Susan Boyle before she even showed her talent. And I think if we're being honest, we all probably formed quite a few judgments about her too. And those judgments formed our opinion about who she was and what she was or wasn't capable of. And as we just saw, our first impressions don't always give us the bigger picture of who someone truly is. So think for a minute about the cliques in and around your school. You probably have assumptions or opinions about each and every one of them. Sure, you don't spend as much time with people that are different than you, people who aren't in your clique, but you've still made some pretty big assumptions about those people, haven't you? Maybe you've thought things like, oh, the rich kids, those are, and then you fill in the blank. All the people on the sports team, they are blank. The smart kids, they are whatever. Like if you're not one of them, you definitely have your opinion on the smart kids. Or maybe those cheerleaders, they are fill in the blank. The band kids, they are whatever you think it is. And I bet right now, you're filling in each of these blanks with what you think you know about each one of these groups of people. Maybe even fit in one of them. And we all do it. We all judge other people and kind of fill in the blanks of what we think of them. Even here when we've been at church, I bet you've found yourself looking around and noticing cliques or groups of people and have thought things like, oh, those kids who always come to church are fill in the blank. Those students from that school always, whatever it is, what it fill in that blank. Or those kids from the younger grades, they are, oh, I don't like them. And again, we form opinions about these people based on our assumptions. And just like that, our opinions become fact. And what's tricky is that those opinions or assumptions come from all kinds of places. Maybe you think something about a certain group of people because of your past experience. Maybe they bullied you or hurt you or embarrassed you or just weren't all that kind to you. Maybe you saw them act a certain way or do a certain thing, and whatever it was, that experience shaped your opinion of them. Or maybe for you, it really is just an assumption. You don't actually know the things that you believe or think about that person or group of people are true. You just think it might be true. And for you, that assumption is enough to change your opinion. Or maybe for you, it's an opinion based on jealousy or insecurity. Those other people have something that you want or that you wish you had, and because you don't, you have negative feelings or opinions about them. And whatever the reason, when it comes to people who are different than us, people we don't really understand, we let our judgments and opinions affect how we view them. And that's a problem for a lot of reasons. For starters, our judgments aren't usually nice and kind thoughts. We aren't typically describing people we don't really know with words like, oh, they're awesome, or cool, or fun to be around. And not only does that mean we're judging or seeing them negatively, but it also means we probably aren't going to give them a chance in the future. We've already made up our minds, right? We don't need to get to know them or learn anything else about them. In our minds, we already know who they are. But here's what I think that we're missing. When we base our view of someone else on one experience or one opinion or one assumption, then we aren't seeing the whole story. We aren't seeing the whole person. And there's a story in the Bible that I think can help us change the way that we see other people. And it's found in the book of John, which was written by one of Jesus' closest friends and followers named, you guessed it, it's John. And John was one of the 12 men who walked the closest with Jesus and learned from him during his ministry on earth. And John wrote down what he actually saw, heard, and experienced as a follower of Jesus. And that's what we have to look at today. And so when we pick up our story, Jesus was teaching to a group of people when several religious teachers interrupted him with a question in John 8:4-5. And it says, "Teacher," they said to Jesus, "this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say?" And basically these religious leaders came to Jesus with a question about a woman who was caught sleeping with someone who wasn't her husband. And the religious leaders knew the rules. They understand what the law said. And back then, when someone committed adultery, they'd be stoned. And that basically means people would literally throw stones at them until they died. Like, yikes. And what I always didn't understand was that the law said to stone the man as well. And where was he in the situation? It only talks about the woman. But these religious leaders, they thought that they knew exactly what Jesus was going to say about this woman. And they were so sure that they interrupted his teaching to get the answer. And they just knew the answer was not going to prove they were right about who the woman was, but it was also going to show how much better they were than she was. So now, can we all admit that we, like the religious leaders, have a tendency to think better of ourselves than we do of others? We tend to see what other people do or who they are much differently than the way that we see ourselves. And because of that, we put space between us and them. And we let our opinions and our judgments define who they are, and we slowly move ourselves away from them. And that's certainly what these religious leaders were doing with this woman. And I think that's probably what they thought Jesus would do too. But instead, Jesus did something I don't think anybody expected. In verse 7 and 8, it says, "The religious leaders kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, 'All right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone.' Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust." And Jesus challenged these religious leaders to look inward at themselves and their own sin instead of judging others. And Jesus told them that the one who hadn't sinned, who had never messed up or made a mistake or done something wrong, was the only one who had the right to throw a stone at this woman. And as you can imagine, nobody there besides Jesus fell into that category. So while they were there, standing there, the religious leaders were convicted and their argument was shut down completely. And instead of throwing stones like they'd planned, John wrote that after they heard what Jesus said, they slipped away, one by one, oldest to the youngest. And soon it was only Jesus left standing with this woman. And here's what happened next in verse 10 and 11. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, "Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you?" "No, Lord," she said. And Jesus said, "Neither do I. Go and sin no more." So while the religious leaders had judged this woman on only one thing when they knew that they knew about her, Jesus saw something else. Jesus saw this woman as so much more than one bad decision. She was so much more than just one opinion or one judgment or experience. Jesus knew the whole story, and he loved her no matter what. And nobody in this story was really who everyone else thought they'd be. Everyone judged this woman as bad, but Jesus showed that she was worthy of forgiveness and a future. And everyone judged these religious leaders as good, but Jesus showed that they were no better than the woman they came to stone. Because the truth is, we're all made in the image of God, and that alone makes us worthy of his love and forgiveness. And that's the way Jesus saw other people, and he calls us to see them in the same way. Jesus wants us to remember that there's more to others than just our opinions of them. And we can look down on someone because of their past, or we can put people on a pedestal that they don't belong. And so in 6th grade, if I go back to my story, I had put those 8th graders on this pedestal. But over time, I started to realize that they were negative influence, and they really only wanted to get to know me because they thought they could get to know my sister, who they thought was hot, which also just completely disgusted me. And halfway through the year, I came to my senses and I started sitting more towards the front of the bus because I didn't want to look cool with them. I would much rather have a peaceful life than to be cool like the 8th graders. And you see, reducing someone to just one judgment or opinion causes you to miss so much. Those band kids at your school, maybe they're really funny, but you have no idea because you've judged them as they're not funny. Those cheerleaders in the lunchroom, they might be the nicest girls in your grade, but you just assume they're mean, and that's become who they are in your eyes. Those kids in your small group who come to church all the time, maybe they're struggling with the same things that you are, but you'll never know because they're perfect in your opinion, and you don't actually take time to get to know them. You might be missing out on so much about someone by simply letting your opinions and judgments define them. So my challenge to you is to remember this. There's more to others than just our opinions of them. To help you remember this, I want you to try one of these 2 things this week. Number 1, worry about yourself. When you find yourself about to form an opinion or make judgment about someone else, worry about yourself instead. And just as Jesus reminded those religious leaders that we've all got our own mistakes and missteps to worry about. So instead of focusing on someone else's behavior or interest or choices that you don't understand, focus on what you're doing and how you can better live out the life that God has for you. Number 2, remove the judgment. Think about who in your world that you've judged or formed an opinion about without truly getting to know them. What if instead of judging them with what you think you know about them, you let the facts define them? What if you only focus on what you know to be true about them and not your prejudgments about them? Now, while you may not know much about the other person or group of people right away, you do know this for sure. They are children of God, made in his image and deserving of his love. So start there. Then, instead of making assumptions, think of them with compassion, love, kindness, grace, just like Jesus did. Remember, there's more to others than just our opinions of them. So let me pray, and I'm going to pray over you guys as we kind of finish this series. So Father, I just thank you so much for your goodness. Jesus, I just thank you that you give us such a wonderful example of what grace looks like. That we can't judge someone just based on one instance or what we've heard before, but we can still show love and offer forgiveness and grace. So God, I pray that we do that with others. I pray that we don't judge people because of the cliques that they are in. I pray that we don't judge people based on past decisions, but we actually get to know people and we extend grace and love towards other people just because we're believers, we're Christians that are called to do that. So God, may we look at other people the way that you look at them. We love you, Jesus, and pray this in your name. Amen. All right, thanks guys for joining us. We just completed our In My Opinion series. Sign up for camp. You're going to hear a little bit more about it right now. So sign up for camp. It's going to be a blast. I've been putting it together. You're not going to want to miss it. Love you guys. Bye.
Hey Roots! Thanks for joining our online service today. I hope the message encouraged you to always understand that there is more to someone than your initial opinion about them. So why don't you get to know someone better instead of having that bad view of them? Okay, so camp is coming up in 3 weeks and you need to be there. Check out this video that we showed last week from my twin. Hey you 6th and 7th graders! Wait, you guys are in 7th and 8th grade now. Look at you, high rollers. I know we told you that we would have information for you about camp this week, so here it is. Our summer camp is called Mix, and we're holding it at Crossroads for 3 nights. And guess what? It's only $50 for the 3-night camp. It'll be July 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. You will start late in the afternoon each day and be done around 9:30 each night. Trust me, this is going to be an awesome experience as our planned summer camp called Mix becomes Mix at Crossroads. Get it? We will have games, prizes, and we'll even have a Chick-fil-A dinner on our last night. Our theme for this Mix at experience is the third person, where we talk about the Holy Spirit. We will have worship and testimonies as well. I know many of you don't have plans this summer because most of them have been canceled because of Miss Rona's World Tour. Sheesh. So why don't you fill it up with an awesome experience like Mix At, where you can grow in your faith and hang out with your friends from Crossroads. Make sure to go onto icrossroads.org/roots, click the middle school registration form, and sign up today. Woo! Oh, that was too high. Better see you guys there. Trust me, you guys want to go to camp. So sign up. Like, right now. Sign up. Sign up. What are you waiting for? Sign up. To finish off, I hope you can hang around a little bit and chat with your online host today. Talk about the message, answer the questions that will be on the screen, and catch up with your friends from Roots. We'll see you guys back here next week for a new series called Popular. Ooh. Bye, guys!